Welcome. Steve Forbes joins us. Steve is the chairman and editor-in-chief of Forbes Media. He ran for president. I thought it was a beautiful run back in 95, 96. Didn't get all the way, but he had some great ideas. Steve Forbes, welcome back. How you doing tonight?
Good to be with you, Greg, and thank you again for those kind words. Someday we'll get the flat tax. I think we're both young enough to see it come.
That would be beautiful, and that's one of the reasons why there's got to be a second term for the Trump administration, and obviously you're close to the president. All right, listen, though, you've been around for a long time. You know politics. You know the world. I don't want to give false hope here. I'm pretty hopeful, but you can feel free to take me back down to reality. What's your outlook right now for the president?
Well, the reality hasn't been set yet, and the president's certainly within his rights to challenge votes in states where irregularities appear to have occurred. Everyone on the other side seems to forget that was what was done in 2000. Al Gore, as you know, was on his way to concede the election to George W. Bush, realized that he might take Florida, challenged the results there, and we had 35 days of litigation, state Supreme Court, national Supreme Court, before it was decided. So the president should examine where irregularities apparently have occurred, determine what the scale was, have recounts where they're legitimate, and you know, it could happen. It's a long shot, but people should feel that every avenue was pursued to make sure that this election was valid. Otherwise, this election, Greg, is forever going to have the proverbial asterisk against it, that people feel it just wasn't quite done right.
And if there was fraud, they could try it again. The numbers I hear about these lawsuits, I feel, quite frankly, I have a gut feeling that this is going to work out for the president. Joe Biden today, I still have a very hard time imagining him as president, and he looked exceedingly weak today. They have dressed up the Wilmington Arena there with Office of the President-elect, but all that stuff is literally for show. I mean, President-elect doesn't mean anything, does it, at this point? You have grave concerns about how he would manage the economy.
Indeed. Thankfully, it looks like I think we will keep the Senate. Everyone's going to be on their toes in Georgia. I think we'll win both of those races. But they can do a lot, Greg, on the regulatory side. They can wreck the energy industry, no pipeline permits, a lot of regulation to make sure drilling is more difficult. They're going to ban it already from federal lands. And we all saw what they did to the coal industry in the previous Obama-Biden administration. They can do the same thing in other areas like manufacturing, labor law, crushing regulation can hurt businesses. Agriculture is very worried about regulations from the EPA and other parts of the government to make their lives miserable. And we saw that's why we had such a miserable economy under the previous Biden-Obama administration. All those regulations gave us the slowest recovery from a sharp economic downturn in American history. And it looks like they want a repeat performance.
You're also in the media business, and I think the media, they're shaping so much of what people are feeling right now in half the country. And I know even supporters of the president, well, it just seems like it's over. And we know it's not over. This thing, anything can happen. But they're getting that from the media, and they want it over, I believe, for numerous reasons, but a lot of it's personal, isn't it? Because he called them out, they never liked him, and since they already called this thing, they don't want to look ridiculous all over again like they did in 2016, do they?
No, they don't. But fortunately today, even though there's a lot of criticism, a lot of it justified of so-called social media, access and outlets we've had available we never had before. The truth is getting out. Now, it's understandable the American people are exhausted. They want to get this behind them. But they also understand we have to have a process of integrity where all avenues have been pursued so that we have an honest result. So, yeah, we're exhausted. But, Greg, by early December, we will have this result. We will have the Electoral College voting. And we had that in 2000, and the Republic survived.
You know, one thing that makes me really suspicious, I don't know if you remember, but there was a reporter, it was maybe 2 months ago in the White House briefing room, who asked the president, win, lose, or draw, will you commit to conceding the election at the appropriate time? And they hammered the president when he said, I'm going to keep my options open, which I think was a totally reasonable response. He's going to concede if he wins, and he's going to concede if he ties. That was the question was, you should do those things if you win. You should just concede. And everybody kind of kept that going for a while. Do you remember?
In the year 2000, when Al Gore was challenging what was happening in Florida, and that was just one state. So this will play out, and that doesn't mean the Biden people can't pick potential cabinet members and appointees and all that sort of thing, commissions. They can go right ahead. Just as in 2000, both Gore and Bush had transition teams at work in case they won. So Biden can go ahead. Is this thing definitive? And that will be on December 12th, just as the law provides.
Well, as we go to break and say goodbye, Steve, I want to take one more look at Joe Biden. Got to tell you, he looked really slow. He was asking his handlers for permission, and the whole team, forgive me, but they're acting a little bit guilty right now. And like they can't believe they got away with it. I don't think they did. I think we're going to find out some fascinating things in the days ahead. We'll see. Steve Forbes, thank you again. To be continued.